AI, Work and Human Identity, Understanding the Emotional Impact of Artificial Intelligence. Episode 1 of 20, AI is Changing Your Future. But what is it doing to your mind? You're listening to the Emotional Intelligence Developer Podcast. This is Episode 1, AI is Changing Your Future. But what is it doing to your mind? Artificial intelligence is changing the world faster than most people expected. But underneath all the headlines about productivity, automation, jobs, and technology, there's another conversation we don't talk about enough. What is AI doing to your mind? Artificial intelligence is changing the world faster than most people expected. But underneath all the headlines about productivity, automation, jobs, and technology, there's another conversation we don't talk about enough. What is AI doing to your mind? Because you don't have to lose your job to be affected by AI. You might already be feeling it. Maybe you're looking at your career differently. Maybe you're wondering whether the skills you've spent years developing will still matter. Maybe you're watching people use AI to do things that once required years of experience, and you're quietly asking yourself, where does that leave me? That question can create something deeper than ordinary career uncertainty. It can affect your confidence. It can affect your identity. It can affect your motivation. And it can even affect your sense of security. This is where emotional intelligence becomes important. Emotional intelligence isn't about pretending everything is going to be fine. It's about recognizing what's happening inside you, understanding why you're reacting that way, and making better decisions instead of allowing fear to make those decisions for you. Think about the difference between these two thoughts. AI is changing my industry, so I'm going to be replaced. And AI is changing my industry, so I need to understand what's changing, what remains valuable, and where I need to develop. Those are two completely different emotional positions. The first puts you into threat mode. The second puts you into learning mode. And that distinction matters. Because when people feel threatened, they don't always respond intelligently. Some people deny the change. Some become obsessed with it. Some constantly compare themselves with people who seem to be ahead. Some start learning everything they can because they're afraid of falling behind. Others give up before they've even started. And some become angry at the technology itself. None of those reactions necessarily mean you're weak. They're human responses to uncertainty. But understanding your reaction gives you something extremely valuable. Choice. You can acknowledge, I'm worried, without turning that into, my future is ruined. You can say, I don't understand this technology yet, without turning that into, I'm falling behind everyone. And you can recognize, my job may change, without immediately deciding, my value as a person is disappearing. That last distinction is particularly important. Your occupation is something you do. It isn't the complete definition of who you are. If technology changes your job, that doesn't erase your experience, your judgment, your relationships, your character, your ability to communicate, your ability to learn, or your ability to understand other human beings. And those things matter. In fact, as technology becomes more powerful, understanding people may become even more important. Think about the workplace. A company can introduce powerful, but if employees become frightened, exhausted, resentful, or disengaged, the organization hasn't necessarily solved its human problem. Technology can increase output. It can't automatically create trust. It can't automatically create psychological safety. It can't automatically teach a manager how to have a difficult conversation. And it can't remove the emotional consequences of major change. That's why this conversation isn't really about whether AI is good or bad. It's about how humans respond to powerful change. And you have a role in that response. Instead of constantly asking, what is AI going to do to me? Try asking, what can I learn about myself from the way I'm responding to AI? Are you afraid of losing income? Are you afraid of becoming irrelevant? Are you afraid of looking inexperienced? Are you comparing yourself with other people? Are you resisting change because you genuinely disagree with it or because you don't feel prepared for it? Those questions take you somewhere much more useful. Because once you understand the emotion underneath the fear, you can start dealing with the actual problem. If you're worried about your career, develop your skills. If you're worried about your finances, understand your financial situation. If you're constantly comparing yourself with other people, examine what that comparison is doing to your confidence. And if you're overwhelmed by technology, slow down and learn deliberately instead of consuming information endlessly. You don't have to absorb everything at once. You don't have to know everything about AI. And you don't have to predict exactly what the future will look like. Because if you spend all your energy trying your ability to respond to it, that's what emotional resilience is about. And if you don't know what the future looks like, that's okay. You don't need to predict the future perfectly. You need to become better at adapting to uncertainty. That's one of the reasons Emotional Intelligence Developer exists. The website has free well-being tools, quizzes, and resources that can help you examine your emotional patterns, confidence, self-awareness, relationships, and overall well-being. You can use those tools to understand yourself better, rather than waiting until you're overwhelmed to start paying attention to what's happening emotionally. Because the biggest mistake you can make during technological change isn't failing to predict what AI will do next. It's failing to understand what fear is doing to you right now. AI is changing the future. You don't control that. But you do have some control over how you respond to the change. And that is where emotional intelligence becomes practical. So don't try to predict everything that's coming. Build the emotional capacity to deal with whatever comes next. This has been episode 1 of 20 in AI, Work and Human Identity, Understanding the Emotional Impact of Artificial Intelligence from the Emotional Intelligence Developer Podcast. If this episode made you think about how AI is affecting your confidence, career, or sense of identity, continue with the series. And when you visit Emotional Intelligence Developer, explore the free well-being tools, quizzes, and resources available on the website. The more you understand yourself, the better prepared you are to deal with a world that keeps changing. Until next time.